Hello friends, this is in continuation to the video I had made a couple of weeks ago regarding the defective Easttop brass comb 16 hole 64 note chromatic harmonica I received, and you can watch that video where the comb had a defect, and eventually Easttop agreed to send me a replacement comb. There was a big delay there. A decision had to be made in between. So the dealer agreed to send me a full harmonica. I think that changed, and eventually it came in today. The shipment was pretty quick. I mean, when they posted it, when they shipped it, but the shipping itself took a long time. The new one I had received, I think it was on July 4th, and immediately on the same evening or probably the following morning, I made a video and then reported it to the dealer. And finally, it arrived. And to my utter surprise, you can see there's an import duty, and it is $23.56. That's Canadian dollars. Now, 23 as such may not be a big amount, but then when I received the new harmonica, there was no duty. It came by a different shipper, and I heard horror stories about DHL where service is charged. Well, it could be an import. I do not know. It also depends on how they declared it. And when they wanted the old comb to be sent, they were so specific about, how I declare it, and they did not take that due. There was no due diligence there, and I ended up for no, I would say, no mistake of mine, just because I went through an expert suggestion. I could have gone through any other seller, probably Yahoo, not Amazon. I'm sorry, Amazon. But then, in fact, I would have paid 50 Canadian dollars less there. Here, I paid 50 Canadian dollars more, thinking that at least I'll get something that's a standard piece, and it turned out to be a defective one. And now, for no fault of mine, okay, I did receive a replacement comb, and I end up paying $23.56 duty on the comb. And on top of that, they want the old comb. That is not an issue, but who pays for it, and will they pay in advance? I'm not sure. As it is, I have spent this money. More than the money, it's the principle. It was really not a good experience dealing with Easttop. Their quality control is terrible, I would say. So anyway, I'll just unbox it now in front of you, so that we all can see what the contents are. And later, I'll stop the video and then open up the harmonica, the one that has the defective comb, and then we'll have a look at it on camera. So now let me just tilt it a little bit. And this is how the comb has come. In fact, when the original, the new one was sent, it came in a nice case, and the case was, this is the case it came, the original one. It was wrapped in bubble wrap, and this is how they have sent. Okay, there's nothing to break, I suppose. Well, that's their quality. This is, you're seeing it on camera. Okay, the box is away, and okay. So this is how it is packed, although this is packed well, but no bubble wrap. They could have, how much would bubble wrap would have cost them? I'll try to retain this so that I can pack it the same way they sent. That is, if I decide to ship it back and if they're willing to pay me in advance, I'll send them approximately how much it is going to cost to ship it back to China. And if they're willing to pay me in advance, of course, I lost this duty fee unnecessarily for their mistake, just because their quality control was not good enough to catch the obvious defect. The customer ends up paying, and also all the nuisance, the waiting. So this is how it has come. It's packed this way. You can see it. This looks good. So that is how it is. So let me have a look. So essentially, what had happened is, let me use some pointer. In the defective one, you see these three. This is the top. This is the top where the mouthpiece comes, and it's a good idea to have these screws here, 1, 2, and 3. That way the reed plate is sealed well even on the top. Most manufacturers don't do that. Easttop came up with the idea, very good. So for this screw to go in, so they need to mill in a different way. That means it needs to have a barrel throughout. If you notice, it's sort of a barrel where the screw goes, and the milling should be done accordingly. I hope you can see that clearly on both sides. So these are the holes, 1, 2, and 3. Now on the bottom side, it's not an issue, or at the edge, it is not a problem. There's enough space. Whereas here, because of the chambers, it is very difficult, I understand. And when that happens, every fourth hole, I hope you can see that every fourth hole, you see a portion of that barrel here. A portion where the screw goes inside. This is where the screw goes, 1, and this is the other screw, and this is the third screw. If you look carefully, you'll see that there is sort of a barrel thing where the screw goes, and it's the housing for the screw. And in the defective one, not only was the milling not done correctly wherever these bulges come because of the screw housing, not only the milling was not done correctly, this is the button side, the slider side, and this is the first octave. This is the first octave. So after the first octave, after the first 4 holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is where the screw comes. This one was open, actually. I think the milling machine went deep, or the tool went a little too deep, and it had opened up on both sides. So essentially, that is a manufacturing defect which is clearly seen when somebody is assembling the mouthpiece. That can be clearly seen. It was not they didn't notice it. And even if when the person assembling the reed plate, they could have easily seen the breakage here on this one. I hope you can see that on this one, but they didn't. So it was assembled as is and then shipped off. They took all the trouble to pack and send it. And I would say, if it were to be my own company, we do have QA, quality control, and all that. We would have fired that person, or at least we would have raised, we would have asked for reasons why this happened, and how are we going to ensure that it won't repeat. That is the kind of questions we ask when something gets slips through in the quality control, falls off the rails. So and so that was it, the fourth hole. This is what had happened. This looks okay. Obviously they would have checked, and this came direct from the factory. So the dealer actually did not open it from another harmonica. This came direct from the factory. Now I'm going to stop the video for a while and then open up the defective one on camera, so that you can we all can see what the defect is. Even I have actually not opened the reed plate there. Even without opening the reed plate, just with the mouthpiece open, we can see the defect in that. So I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, friends, I'm back, and this is the harmonica I received on July the 4th, 2019, and which ended up being, when I noticed it's defective comb. Let me open it on camera now. Let me put the covers aside. I don't want any scratches on these. So this is how it looks. And I think in the other video I mentioned that these are very thin compared to what we find in the Suzuki Chromatics. These are really thin, the support metal pieces. One on this side. So let me open the mouthpiece. It'll be a long video. I don't want to. Maybe I'll try and fast forward the disassembly process. But I just want you guys to take advantage of this in case you find a similar problem. At least now you are aware that such a thing can happen. You end up, say if it is $70, $80, $100, it's okay. We can expect. But this is their high-end harmonica from Easttop. Although I would say for a brass comb compared to, say, Suzuki, these are reasonable, but then this is what happens with the quality. And with the daytime job that we have, who has the time to follow up on all these things? And it is just a hobby for us. It is not a profession where we go around playing the harmonica. Some of us, it's not for, it's just for pleasure, just to entertain the family, friends, and our professions are totally different. So that's the slide. I think I'll keep these also aside. I don't want to lose any of the, there's that nylon sleeves. You can see that. In fact, uh, I forgot to mention earlier, I believe there was a inherent defect in the comb here, in the metal when they were machining, because there was a air gap or bubble in the molding, or however they got the solid block. When they were machining, there is a deformity here, so it is not a perfect plane. So still, if we ignore that, there is also a crack in one of these ribs. Actually, there's a crack which I have shown in my previous video. uh, we need to take a close-up photograph, and then we'll be able to see that. So there's a crack in that. I think I'll fast forward the disassembly of the plates. But let us see. I think it is better I have this just to avoid any damage to the reeds or the wind savers. So I'll have that piece when I rest it. So we have three smaller screws. That's the one that was damaged, the barrel for that. So these are all smaller screws, and these are all larger than that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of one dimension and 3 of a smaller dimension here. So the small screws removed now. Let me go ahead with the all should be of the same length because the entire comb thickness is the same. So otherwise, normally when I remove any screws, I just first measure, but these should be, of course, obviously. Okay, so this is the higher end, high note and the low note. So as you can see, all the reeds are riveted, just like how Suzuki does. They are not, sorry, welded. I beg your pardon. They are all welded, spot welded, not riveted. Welding is what Suzuki does, and I think in this model they have. I have seen their other 12-hole model, chromatic, where they're all having rivets, but this one is welded, spot welded. So this has to be kept safe. How shall I keep it safe? Okay. And this is the other end. Since I think it's better I use this and then rest it on that. Okay, so that's the bottom. And here is the comb. And of course, I'll need to remove the spring. So I do not know how to show it. In my pictures, I had actually shown where I could see the screw. If I insert the screw, you should be able to see through the hole. Now, will you be able to see it? This is the hole that is damaged. This is the hole. When I insert the screw here, you should be able to see the screw inside. I think you can see it now. See? You can see the screw going inside. So that's the hole. So let me point again. It is I think it's easier seen perhaps this way. Here, I'll show it this way. Where the toothpick is going in, so you can see the toothpick is going through the hole. You can see the toothpick through the screw hole. You can see that, see? So it's a break here. Here it is broken. Here it is broken. And the milling on these are not good, but this is the damage. And I think on the same rib here, I do have a close-up picture. There is a crack. There's a crack in one of the center ribs there. I think, yeah, on this Video, you may not be able to see it, but anyway, regardless, this is a major defect here. It can be seen actually even from here when somebody is assembling in good lighting, they can actually see from here that there's a damage. And when they're assembling the mouthpiece, they can see that there's a damage here. So otherwise, it's okay. So this is the old comb, friends, from Easttop, 16 hole, 64 note, brass comb, chromatic harmonica from Easttop. So I'm going to swap the combs now and put the new comb, and then let us see what happens. I'll get in touch with the dealer as well as Easttop if needed. As I mentioned, I'd like to know who will pay for the duty for no mistake of mine. And on top of that, if they want this comb for the quality assurance investigation, somebody has to pay for the shipping well in advance. Now I do not want to, once bitten, twice shy. I do not want to take the chance. It's not the question of money. It's a question of better business procedures, in place. So that's about it. Thank you for your time. Friends, I'm back because I did observe something. I was wondering why it happened, and I'm sure this will help their quality assurance people. Even if I am not getting the shipping charges in advance, I don't think I'll take the trouble of sending it. It's not worth. And then I'll have to be behind them to send me the money. Again, it's not the money, it's a question of principle. Now I know what caused the problem. This is the defective one. I have both here. This is the defective one. And let me just tilt the camera a little bit again. It's very interesting. And yes, in a production line, such things do happen, but we need to be cautious and then catch it. That is the reason we have quality control. If you observe, as I mentioned, while dismantling, I did mention that the top 3 screws diameters are smaller than the others. These are all the same diameter. The remaining screws that hold both the reed plates, the diameter is the same, the outer screws. But these top screws, they're smaller. The diameters are smaller. I mean, I can even measure and then let you know if anybody is interested in knowing. I do have a micrometer and a caliper. Here, I believe this is the only hole that is of the right dimension. How I noticed it is, actually, I took a picture, inserting, I just put the toothpick here, and this toothpick goes into this. In fact, you can see here the toothpick moving. That's the brake. Okay, from one of the sides. This toothpick is going inside. So, even visually, we can actually make out, well, we do have a go and no-go gauges for checking these things. When I tried to do this, it did not go. Then I realized, oh my goodness, how come I missed it? This is the right size hole. This toothpick will not go. This toothpick goes here because these are all the same dimension. See here, the bottom hole. So this is going here. And this one, again, they have not used the same drill bit. This is the right drill bit here. This is a little larger than this one. But still, I think the walls are very thin here. It would have eaten away additional, extra metal because of the larger diameter. But still, we do not see any gap. But I'm sure it will be a very weak wall now for the screw chamber. The toothpick doesn't go. It doesn't go in. But still, it goes deeper than what it goes in this, how much it goes in this one. That means this hole is larger than this one. This is the ideal size. Now, this one, on the other hand, somebody has used the same drill bit that was used on all these things. On all the other holes that you see here, it's the same. The toothpick goes inside, as I mentioned, and here also it goes and there's a lot of play. So they have used either the same size as this or could be even larger. I'm not sure, unless I measure. I'll not know. That is what has caused the problem, not the milling. Initially, I was thinking it's the milling. Of course, the milling is done, and I think the drilling is done later. And somebody drilled here with a larger bit, thus removing the metal from the screw chamber. They opened up here because of the larger size drill bit, and nobody caught it either while assembling the reed plate or while assembling the mouthpiece. Nobody took note of that. Nobody noticed it. Well, that is what has caused the problem. QA, gentlemen, please be aware. Use the right size drill bits for the top 3 holes, not the same as this one. So you can give instructions to your team. That's it. I just want to, I noticed it. I thought, let me add this clip to the same video I'm making. Thank you very much again.